Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Wednesday, January 14th, the epicenter of yet another very, very busy broadcast week. Huge thank you to Inez Annie Cyrus, who is producing the Shannon Joy Show today. Of course, we are broadcasting live right here on Rumble. We're live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, every podcast platform you can imagine, Facebook, YouTube, Substack, you name it. The Shannon Joy Show is there, reaching upwards over 1 million viewers every single month, doing 3 to 5 million impressions each month with the show content. I can't believe how much we have grown in just the past couple years, and we could not have done it without all of you. Those of you who are joining in on the live chat on Rumble, it's great to see you. If you're live chatting on Substack or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, give us a like, a share, a comment. That helps us with the algorithm. And as you know, on the Shannon Joy Show, we need all the help we can get with the algorithms because, well, today in the United States of America, the algorithms do not favor independent voices. This is why we have had to do this the independent way, our own way, but we've been able to squeeze through, and we couldn't do it without all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. The news cycle, once again, like a fire hose in our face every single day, accelerating at a breakneck pace. You must have seen the videos from this morning. Diplomats from Greenland are now in Washington, D.C., apparently negotiating a deal for the U.S. purchase or acquisition of Greenland. I thought we were going to march in with the troops and just take it, because that's what Nick Fuentes and all of the big, bad, conservative talkers out there are talking about, marching in with the troops and taking what we want. It is might makes right, a plunder economy. There are no rules. There are no guidelines, no rule of law, no natural rights. We are now in the wild, wild west of 2026. And like all of you, I am white knuckled on the roller coaster for this ride. People who are in the know are the people who will survive. As the checkerboard is tossed in the air, all the pieces are in the air. And it is more important than ever than that you guys get very, very critical and nonpartisan information, which is what we do every day here on the SJ Show. Good luck to Greenland, by the way, with your pockets full of dollars. Hope that really works out for you. I'm sure that Donald Trump could not wait to negotiate a deal with Greenland with inflated and debased U.S. dollars. I don't know if that's going to work out, but we will keep an eye on all of it. You see the headline for today's show: Trump's economic Armageddon, a devastating report out that was featured in Zero Hedge. 92% of employed Americans have cut back on spending as the standard of living in the United States crumbles. We have job markets numbers today. We have inflation numbers today. And we also have, of course, the amazing Tiffany Cianci. She is a financial analyst for The People and has a unique talent and ability to explain exactly how the government class, the elite class, the cartel class, the crony capitalism class, the predator class, all of the ways that they screw we the people, the little guys. And they have been screwing us for upwards of 50 years. It's only accelerated in the past 20 years and hyper accelerated over the past 5 years, spanning 2 partisan administrations, Trump and Biden. It's only getting worse, and there is only one way to go. And this is why gold and silver are skyrocketing, absolutely skyrocketing. We have never seen anything like this. And this is why so many people are getting into gold and silver. Listen, guys, if you're a regular viewer or listener of the Shannon Joy Show, you guys are in the know. We've been doing this now for 12 years, well over a decade. And the SJ audience is better informed than probably about 90% of their peers. And this is not because I'm highly intelligent. It's not because I'm well connected and have super secret inside sources. It's not because I have a crystal ball. I think that the reality is, the Shannon Joy Show and me personally, I've been nonpartisan for the better part of a decade. I launched the show 12 years ago. It took me about 2 years to get my bearings. And I realized 2 years in that the whole left versus right, Republican versus Democrat thing is a complete farce. It's a massive psyop. And it's designed to keep Americans completely ignorant and divided and fearful of their neighbors. And it has worked very well, but the good news is more and more Americans are waking up very, very quickly. They are becoming independent minded. And this is why the PSYOPs aren't working as well anymore. I don't know if you saw the headlines yesterday, but Joe Rogan now throwing in his hat on the issue of ICE as more and more polling is done showing that the sentiment of the American people is not only in opposition to Donald Trump's actions using ICE in the state of Minnesota, but that now a growing minority, almost 50% of Americans now want to see ICE abolished, and that has ticked up over 4% in just the past couple weeks. Clearly, people like Joe Rogan are reading the tea leaves and they're seeing what's going on, which is why I think he's coming now down firmly opposed to the actions by the Trump administration. This is just a quote from one of his, and Joe Rogan's important because he's the most popular and influential podcaster in the United States of America and likely the world. And so when he weighs in on something, yes, I know, he's probably part of some of the larger psyops and he's probably a limited hangout. I get it. But this means that if Joe Rogan has to talk about it, and if Joe Rogan has to actually reflect the will of the people outside of the two-party political circus, well, then that means that we're waking up. That means that the PSYOPs aren't working as well, and they have to pivot on the messaging. And this is what Rogan had to say. Now, ICE are villains. They're villains. And people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our cities, and they're masked up, which is a problem. I've talked about that as well. Sentiment is changing not only on the left. We know how the Democrats are going to feel about ICE actions because the Democrats and liberals will oppose this president and this president's military and anything he does because they hate the president. So that is a knee-jerk partisan position. It is what's happening on the right more and more in conservative leaning circles, and especially independents, are saying, oh, heck no. Yeah, we want illegal aliens deported. We want our borders enforced. We want rule of law. And we want to see that happen. But no, not this way. Not with what they're doing. I mean, the videos are outrageous. And you almost imagine that they're doing this on purpose, that some of these ICE agents could be political actors in there. The purpose is to gin you up and to create chaos and violence and a justification for further expansion of the police state in the country. Doesn't seem like that's working for them, which is great. But as I was mentioning before, so many of you are so much better informed than so many of your peers. And again, it's not because I'm highly intelligent. It is mainly because I'm nonpartisan. And I have been consistently for over a decade. I also rely on other brilliant analysts who are also firmly nonpartisan. People like Tiffany Cianche, who's going to be on with us in just a moment here at the Shannon Joy Show. I bring in the most brilliant, courageous, well-informed expert guests on the show on a regular basis, 3 or 4 times a week, to rely on their critical analysis. But my number one litmus test is that they are outside of the two-party political paradigm. They have to be willing to criticize both the left and the right. And if they don't, they're fired. They don't come back on my show. And you guys have seen many guests on the Shannon Joy Show over the years, over the past 10 years, and some of them fade away. They're not invited back on the show because they have become partisan. because they have chosen a side, the left or the right, when the truth is that the left and the right are working together to screw you, Trump included. In fact, I think Trump and the brand that is Trump, from the moment he came down the escalator over 10 years ago and threw his hat into the ring for the presidency, I am now firmly convinced that he's one of the biggest psyops ever deployed on the American people. And the cult formation around President Trump is frankly breathtaking. I've never seen anything like it. He is a brilliant marketer. You got to give him that. And an easy liar. And that's what you need. Someone who could care less about the truth and lying to you and stealing from you. A predator in every sense of the word. It's not that he's really out to get you. He just doesn't care about you. He will say whatever he needs to say. He will do whatever he needs to do to work a deal for himself, his family, his cronies. And right now he's doing the bidding for his NWO, New World Order, WEF, World Economic Forum handlers. He is bought and paid for. The biggest political prostitute this country has ever been subjected to in the form of one man, and he is Donald Trump. That's why we talk about him, okay? He's not in control. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he will play his role. And the things that he does, from executive orders to emergency authorizations to the passage of bills like the big, beautiful bills, these all have ramifications in your life, and they have great consequence for the American people. The rollout of Operation Warp Speed and his kill shots, which has maimed, injured, and killed millions of Americans. He still deploys those kill shots today, a bioweapon. He has no problem killing Americans. He has no problem killing foreign citizens. It's all transactional for the Donald. And that's what people don't realize. And if you don't understand that, if you miss that critical truth, because you are so far up Trump's rear end in your cult worship and your idolatry, you're not going to survive the next few years. And so many on the right trusted Trump. They trusted his shot. Remember when Alex Jones told his audience, go take Trump's shot. Trump's COVID shot is nothing more than sugar water. It's the safe shot. Go take that, right? Blind trust, cult worship, idolatry. They took the Kool-Aid, they drank the Kool-Aid and injected themselves. So many Christians, evangelicals, Republicans, conservatives, who in any other circumstance would have been skeptical of a government forced and coerced bioweapon, which we now know that that's what it is. But because it was Trump, they fell for it. The partisan, this is why it is so critical to be nonpartisan. And this is why the Shannon Joy Show will be nonpartisan for the foreseeable future, forever. Because nonpartisanship is the key to knowledge and understanding and surviving in the 21st century. Because the partisan, if you're left or right, worshiping Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Donald Trump or the next new hot thing that comes out, whether it's J.D. Vance or Elon Musk, whoever it is that they want to set up for you to worship, if you become partisan and engage in political idolatry, you will always miss critical truths in current events, because the nature of your partisanship requires you to accept massive lies. You'll never get the full truth. You'll never make the best decisions because you have to lie to yourself in order to be tethered to either one of these political parties. And so this is why we shed the mainstream media, the MSM, but also right-wing media, RWM, because that's the only way that you can get your head on straight and make good decisions. And listen, if you're a Shannon Joy Show viewer or listener, you started buying gold and silver 10 years ago when silver was around $18 and gold was just over $2,000. If you're a Shannon Joy Show viewer or listener, you probably didn't take the COVID shot when a vast majority of your peers did. And you probably did that under great duress. But because you had the fortitude and you had good information and you had courage because you saw your peers also rejecting the shots and being okay, because you found this community here on the Shannon Joy Show, you were able to make that good decision. And I don't know a single person that laments the fact that they didn't get a COVID shot in 2021 and 22. If you have been an SJS viewer, follower, or listener, you have probably shed the mainstream news media on the left as not a worthy source, but also the right-wing news media, the influencer class, The Blaze, Daily Wire, Fox News, all the yapping commentators who really run cover for Trump. That's all they are. Well-paid propagandists for the Trump administration and the Republican Party. You've shed both those entities in favor of independent, nonpartisan analysts like the great Tiffany Cianci, who's going to be with us in just a moment. Those analysts who have lost a lot in order to stand up for the truth outside of the two-party political paradigm. And so congratulations and thank you, those of you who have been with me for 12 years, and those of you who have stuck with me when we shed conservative media and we shed mainstream news media, and we lost a lot, boycotted and canceled and suppressed during the dark days of COVID. For those of you who have continued to come here for the best information, not from me, but from the best guests who have their heads on straight and have lost in pursuit of the truth. I appreciate you and I thank you. I want to say hello to all of you on the live chat. Mama C 1996. We started medals 20 years ago. Phew, that's for sure. Jolson's is with us on the live chat today on Rumble. Great to see you, Jolson. I love seeing all the new faces on the Rumble live chat, also on Substack and Facebook and Twitter. You guys are all amazing. Guitar Lily is with us today. KC 12112, great to see you as well. Fearless Rose in USA, love seeing you on the live chat. Future Ez, great to see you as well. Jimmy VT 1959, your show is awesome. And so are you. Well, thank you, Jim. You're awesome too. And I couldn't do this without you guys. You lead me to great guests. You give me great information. You are always filling me on what's going on in the world. And I respect you. I respect you and I value my audience. And in many ways, I submit to you, right? You guys know I'm going to hold true to my principles and my values, but I want to know what you think. And I want to know where you're at in terms of the current events and the news of the day, because it's important to me. And it's a great relationship. I'm so thankful and blessed to be independent so that we can have this relationship. I'm not beholden to foreign entities or foreign interests or massive corporations or political super PACs or political parties or a political cult figure, right? Very simple model here in the Shannon Joy Show. I come to you every day and we have advertisers. You know who our advertisers are. If you're in the market for any of the goods or services offered by our advertisers, well, then you have the right to use my promo codes and patronize them. And that's how it works. It's a very honest transaction. I've done this on purpose for 12 years so that we could have the best relationship between host and audience. So I appreciate all of you. We have Tiffany Cianci. She is in the Joy Virtual Studio. I want to go to a very quick commercial break for our sponsors. And then when we come back, we're going to get into the financial news of the day. You see the headlines today. Trump's economic Armageddon. 92% of Americans are now cutting spending because inflation is through the roof and the economy is tanking. Gold and silver are skyrocketing and Trump and his cronies are getting rich. This is why Trump is acting so crazy, by the way, and moving us into a wartime economy with might makes right posture and a plunder mentality. Apparently, the policies of debt, spend, and print into oblivion while making yourself and your cronies filthy rich on the backs of taxpayers doesn't seem to be working out for the American citizens as they begin to wake up to the reality of our economic situation. We have a lot to discuss today with the amazing Tiffany Cianci. She has a knack for understanding how they screw the little guy. And she's going to help us understand what's happening in the economy today when we come back right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned. I can't tell you how many Americans are now not trusting their food supply and our United States healthcare food system, because as you know, there are so many toxins that are being deployed through our food supply. And this is why so many Americans are now eating like their health depends on it. And that's because most disease does not start in your genes. It actually starts in your kitchen and in your gut. Our food supply has been hijacked. That's just the truth. From Roundup poison to mRNA animal injections, Big Ag and Big Pharma have strategically synced up to get people stuck on a subliminal medical loop. And the wellness company, they're no longer accepting a system where the health industry ignores food and the food industry ignores health. They have to work together. Meet Wellness Farms, a new way to fuel your body from a trusted brand who puts people before profits. So here we go. Hand-selected USA small farmed beef boxes, where the beef goes from a pasture to a butcher, flash frozen, and then right to your door. Think old school meets modernized convenience from the wellness company. It is the purest. So mRNA and vaccine-free, grass-fed, grass-finished cattle raised on regenerative American farms, which is amazing. And these are family farms. And the animals are cared for in a way that restores the soil, protects ecosystems, and produces nutrient-dense meat how nature intended. Each box is unique, and it has unique cuts broken down by mineral and gut health focuses. No antibiotics, no hormones, just clean, honest, regeneratively raised food. We are thankful for, we do got the meats. We're so thankful for the wellness company and their support. Make sure that you always use the promo code MARY for any of your other purchases. But for today, make sure that you use Mary Farms to get $85 off your first beef box. I can't wait to try mine at 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned right here. Right around 1:15 p.m., we're going to be welcoming the Mary Talley Bowden into the Joy Virtual Studio. It is Wednesday, and that means it is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, live right here on the SJ Network. She has Dr. Drew lined up today. And so that's going to be an interesting interview. We're going to talk about medical freedom and the state of medical freedom with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, an update for you in just a little bit. But before we do that, Tiffany Cianci is with us in the Joy Virtual Studio. You are a rock star lady, up super late with the kiddos. Everyone's sick, but you made it. You made it, and you look gorgeous. I definitely wanted to get some of your input on what is happening within the economy here in the U.S. and in terms of finance. You are a financial analyst for the people, and I really appreciate you coming in after being up with those kiddos all night. Girl, I remember those days. I remember those days.
You know, mine are fleeting, so I guess I'll hang on to it as long as I can. Mine are getting older now, and it's like making me a little sad. So when they still need me, it's a joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a 19-year-old, and he's very, very big, and I just wish I could put him in my pocket again. I always tell him, they're just very special years, very special years. But much of what you do is for your kids. It is why you have become such a voice for regular Americans in this highly corrupted financial time.
Yeah.
And you've made a name for yourself explaining to regular Americans how the connected class, the predator class, the corporate class, the political class defrauds and screws the little guy using complex finance, private equity, private credit, leverage buyouts, all of these scams. You experienced it yourself as a franchise owner that was shut down in the dark days of COVID lockdowns, and you've told your story. I want to direct people to your 3-hour interview with Catherine Austin Fitts over at Solari. Solari, it is a must watch. But things are moving very quickly financially. Diplomats from Greenland are at the Oval Office right now negotiating with Trump, who wants to I guess conduct a leverage buyout of Greenland. It's like it's insane. Okay.
I'm really struggling with the idea that we have $100,000 per citizen of Greenland, but we don't have any money to create affordability for American citizens. I have real problems with that. Like
Exactly.
really struggling with, they say it's America first. Well, why aren't all of our allies going in with us to secure Greenland then? Why is it America only in Greenland if it's so important for the NATO allies, if it's so important for the West, right? Like, why are we going alone? It doesn't seem to, and like I saw that the UK Prime Minister the other day said, well, you know, they could either sell it to him or he can take it, and he laughed.
Mm.
I'm sorry, what? That is not the response of a world leader I was looking for.
Oh no. Oh no. I mean, well, and nothing makes any sense. And I think it's because we're moving into a new paradigm of might makes right, plunder capitalism, go in, take it, seize it. Nothing's worth anything anymore. Your dollar's not worth anything anymore. Your retirement is at risk. Your pension is at risk. They have all of these, built-in scams that are designed to help the moneyed elite flee the markets and get positioned for the crash. That's what it seems like to me. Like they're moving everything in place so that when they pull the rug out, we're all broke holding the bag and they're in their bunkers somewhere,
Yeah.
on some island. That's kind of my overall. What are your thoughts of the economy today? Like, why don't I just hand the show over to you for a little while and let you kind of explain to this audience what you think is going on financially?
I recognize two inalienable truths, which is that right now, um, neither party works for the people,
Mhm.
period. They work for billionaires. And two, that both parties have to convince us they work for the people and will lie, cheat, and steal to do so without ever actually doing a thing to serve us.
Right.
And so it's only through accountability that we create that we have any hope of driving any kind of change that actually creates affordability or reassures the value of our money. And right now, we're about to see we're seeing in real time right now a lot of Trump sort of, I don't like to use the word desperation because he gets mad when he sees it. And frankly, I'll take desperation if that's what it takes to serve the people. Some of the moves that he's making in the last 2 weeks, like his very empty promise that he's going to remove large institutional investors from single family home ownership. That is very empty. And I'm not buying it for a second, although nobody has championed that initiative more than me, I don't think, in the United States ever. Right. I
Mm,
absolutely want him to do that. Josh Hawley volunteered to write the bill. I called Josh Hawley's team within 30 minutes of that announcement and said,
yeah.
please let me help you. I will bring the people to support your bill. Let's do it.
Right.
Um, but there's that very empty promise. There's the claim that came through yesterday that we're capping credit card rates at 10%. And we saw immediate moves by the credit markets to start adding fees for processing and other things to shore up their 10% cap. It's also going to deny credit to people with poor credit, right?
Hmm.
And so we have some problems there because he's not putting a freeze. It could force people out of the credit markets. We have another issue with buying $200 billion worth of mortgage bonds to drive down insurance or interest rates. A lot of people thought his leaning on Jerome Powell was to lower home ownership interest rates. In reality, if Jerome Powell lowers the interest rate, it actually doesn't affect mortgages. When he
Hmm.
lowers interest rates, that's only for adjustable rate institutional investor borrowing. So that's for the private equity firms. That would only serve the
Hmm.
private equity firms. And he's been resisting it, which is kind of shocking because Jerome Powell's background is as a board member at Carlyle Group, one of the most insidious private equity firms in American history,
Yep.
right? But he has been denying it and he's been pushing hard against it. I think there's a ton of posturing by Trump about the build out of his building. We waste $400 billion a year in overpayments to defense subcontractors in the US government. I really don't care
Hmm.
about $200 million on his building. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't care. To me, this is an excuse. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
Republicans pushing back against it. The only way to lower home interest rates is for the economy to really suffer. And people need
Mm.
to understand what they're asking for when they ask for those rates to come down. You are asking for severe rises in unemployment, and you
Hmm.
are asking for a stagnant home marketplace. And right now, we have a K-shaped economy that is stopping us from reaching that multitude of risk and damage. But the
Hmm.
only way to actually bring down costs for homes is to force institutional investors to divest of the ownership they already have. And
Right.
Trump is not offering to do that. As a matter of fact, the day after he made his big Truth Social announcement about removing large institutional investors from homeownership,
Hmm.
Caroline Levitt was very, very careful to rein it in. And the White House made an official post that said to ban large institutional investors from acquiring more single family homes. They
Wow.
wanted to
Wow.
make sure right away that all those billionaires knew they were going to get to keep what they've already collected as what is essentially a mini monopoly of our marketplace. And so they reined it in. And then the day after that, I went on a series of podcasts and said that this is irrelevant. It's a paper tiger unless he comes out and explains how he's going to close all the loopholes. Because if you say I'm going to ban a large institutional investor and you quantify that somehow and you say we're going to follow the SEC rules for large institutional investors, now their large institutional investors are $10 billion plus in assets under management. Okay. So
Hmm.
if they're only banning them, well, we have 15,000 private equity firms in the United States, right?
Yep.
And most of them, 98% of them would be considered small institutional investors that would still get to buy up all those homes. And let's say that he doesn't close a loophole. Those large institutional investors would then just go and they would build 1,000 LLCs that have one employee each, and they would each buy 1,000 homes.
That's right. Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And none
Yep.
of that will lower prices. It will raise prices, period.
Tiffany, can you explain to people, because there's been a lot of discussion about astronomical housing prices. I
Yes.
To the point, Tiffany, where I can't afford my own house. Like if I tried to buy my own house that I live in right now, I wouldn't be able to afford the mortgage. Okay, that's and it's, I mean, double digit increases in the value. This is boxing out young Americans, millennials, Gen Zers. The dream of American homeownership is essentially obliterated in the past 5 years. In the past 5 years, it's breathtaking. Now, there are all kinds of reasons for housing inflation that they'll put out there, that there isn't enough housing, we have to build more housing, and there, all of these flimsy, fake, and false explanations. The real reason that housing prices have gone up is because the housing market has been manipulated. So they've gone in and they've manipulated it. They've injected, certain elements that is artificially driving up these prices. But can you explain? Because I think this one example for housing could help the audience understand all of the other things, what they're doing to franchise owners, what they're doing to small to medium sized businesses, what they're doing in all other sectors of our market, even education and healthcare, right? Can you help us understand the mechanism of how they manipulate these markets, and in layman's terms, so that people, who are not heavy into finance understand? I know it's a big ask, but if anyone can do it, you can.
So it's a very complex explanation, but I'll start simply. Okay, I'm going to
Mhm.
give you an example. Let's say that Blackstone is in my marketplace and I have a relationship. Let's say that the Schwartzman, the CEO of Blackstone, has a relationship with Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan is one of the largest real estate developers in the United States and a former the chair of the Bipartisan Governors Commission and a Republican governor of Maryland. Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they say we're going to start buying in Maryland because Maryland has one of the most stable housing markets in the United States because our entire economy is propped up by federal employment. So we don't have
Mm,
recessions the way other states do. Our
okay.
housing prices only go up. So they decide they're going to come here and they're going to buy. Well, there are a lot of people in Baltimore and in Anne Arundel County that really need affordable housing and can't get it because our market is artificially propped up by high salaries for federal employees. Okay. So they
Mm-hmm.
can't get affordable housing. And we say we want to build more houses. And Hogan says, great, I'll use my connections to force through as many land grabs as you want me to. Let's do it. And Blackstone says, well, we don't actually want you to make it affordable. We want to buy everything you build. And they work out a
Mm.
deal with him to buy all the supplies in mass, and they buy a bunch of homes, $100,000 below market rate, what it would be for somebody else. He's building 5 master plan communities, hypothetically. And they say, we're going to buy all 5 of them, every house, every single one. Okay. And we'll buy each of those houses at $400,000 each. They would have been 600,000 at fair market or 500,000 at fair market. We're going to buy all 2,000 of those homes. All right. And they buy up those homes and then they don't rent them right away. No, they hold them vacant. They hold them vacant
Mm.
for a year. And the reason they're going to hold them vacant for a year is because that means there are no comps in the real estate market for the area.
Wow.
Almost immediately when that year hits, they're going to sell 3 homes from that neighborhood to one of their friends, or 4 or 5 homes from that neighborhood to one of their friends, or a real estate investment trust that they're affiliated with, like the Bright Fund, which is a Blackstone real estate investment trust,
Mm.
right? And they're going to sell it at double the price. Not because that's a fair market value, but because they control it. And then the only
Wow.
comps in the region are now showing that that entire portfolio is worth double. That means they get to add that to their asseture. They get to borrow against the value of that. So their asseture for collateralizing new loans is higher. You have now pushed up the property taxes of every single homeowner in the county,
That's
right?
right.
And you have iced everybody else out of the surrounding area. And now you're going to start renting them at exorbitant prices, even though you paid a low price to get into that community.
Wow.
And that's
Now,
just one example of the
yeah,
ways that they do this. Right now, we're facing a circumstance where it's not like private equity owns all the homes. A lot of people misquote me when I say that they've acquired 45% of the homes. No, in many major metropolitan areas, they have acquired between 22 and 44% of homes year over year. Okay.
hmm,
If they maintain their current growth trajectory of home acquisition, it is estimated that by 2031, they will have acquired 61% of all available homes that have hit the market between now and then, if
wow.
their trajectory stays the same. Do we know if it will? No, I couldn't say that. I can say that it's only continued to grow because real estate is one of the most stable investments historically in US history. And what's happening is all of these private equity firms have to offset their losses that are coming because the losses are coming and they will be swift and they will be severe. We're seeing it with the offloading, the Bloomberg article you sent me this morning. We're
Mm.
seeing it with an exit of the private equity and private investment markets across the board, across the United States, from endowments to pensions to 401k systems to private investment groups to private and teacher pension plans.
Right.
Everybody that is large institutional investment money that was pouring into private equity is leaving. And they're leaving
Wow.
because they've strip mined so much that it is simply no longer tenable for them to survive. And rather than failing, which we know will never be allowed to happen for the billionaires in this market, they're going
Hmm.
to collateralize and socialize the risk to all of us by opening those funds up to us to come in and suffer the consequences in. And they're going to shore up their assets with homes and steal the one path to wealth that most Americans had and have had since the beginning of America's inception. Land ownership and home ownership was the most stable entryway to wealth creation for everyday working class Americans in the United States, and they've stolen it. And unless President Trump requires a divestment of the existing homeownership, then we need to get states in there to start forcing the divestment, which I can tell you
Right.
guys how to do because it's the only way to drive down home prices. There is no other mechanism. It is not illegal immigrants, no matter what anyone tells you. It
Yep.
is not. They're not buying all the homes.
That's right.
They're not renting the fancy homes on your block, I promise you.
No, they're not.
Okay? That's not it. They're living 13 to a 1 bedroom apartment. That's not what you're trying to buy. Simply not true. We have 3 private equity firms that have been busted by the FBI in just the last several months for fixing prices on single family homes and apartments in cities across the United States and forcing regular Joe Schmo landlords to raise their prices under threat of lawsuit and litigation lawfare.
Unbelievable.
Private equity firms
Unbelievable.
are single-handedly forcing this up. And so are the Airbnb crew, by the way. Lots of
Mm.
Airbnb investors are also responsible for this. I don't want to limit it because we need to limit the amount that you can make, or we need to start creating funds and charging more taxes for people that are using home ownership to make money instead of creating communities.
I am going to affirm what you're saying. I live in a small town in the Finger Lakes region of New York, very beautiful village right on the Erie Canal. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful place to raise children. And not only has an Airbnb gone in across the street from me, kitty corner of my house, which really irritates me because that's very transient. I don't mind renters, but the Airbnb, I'm not into it. But I will tell you, over the past 5 years, there have been, I would say, a half a dozen to maybe a full dozen of what I now call ghost homes in my village within walking distance of my house. Big homes, okay? And they went for max dollars, like two, three times what they normally would. And they have sat empty and vacant for quite some time, to your point about how they, buy them, hold them, then sell back. And this has driven up, prices in the village to astronomical. Like I couldn't, like I said, my kids will never be able to live in the village with me. I would never be able to afford my own home in that village. And then what you were talking about, so that is, I mean, when you talk about Agenda 2030, when you talk about the Great Reset, when you talk about Agenda 21, you'll own nothing and be happy. They're creating a renter society by devaluing our dollar, crashing the market, crushing Americans under inflation, which is the subject of the zero hedge piece that I have linked in my show notes today. They are crushing, average Americans, the private markets, small to medium sized businesses, which have been the engines of growth in the US. They're pulling that rug out and creating the you have nothing, you own nothing renter society. You're absolutely right about the home. But the second thing, the pensions in the 401k. I mean, this Bloomberg article is absolutely stunning. You mentioned it, and I want to get into this before I let you go because it's absolutely critical. We're going to talk about your 401k, your pension. You've been saving your entire life. And in the summer of 2025, Donald Trump, within the context of the big, beautiful bill, and I think also via executive order, opened up private equity and these private credit markets to investors, to pensions, 401k. So they could invest your money, your retirement into some of these private credit and private equity markets. You might not even know about it because, I mean, they changed so much of the language. But essentially, what we're seeing here, this is crazy. A 200% increase from the previous quarter, 2.9 billion. So the old money, the money in the know, these big institutional investors are divesting out of the private credit industry, which is a $1.7 trillion industry. And this is particularly with the non-traded business development companies. They're called BDCs. Okay. And so they're getting out very quietly, but in the literally since the fourth quarter of 2025, 200% increase as they called it an exodus of this money. Now the BDCs are saying, "Oh, we're fine. We have lots of liquidity. We're able to give you all that money." They're probably taking all their money out and buying gold and
I want to tell you
silver.
where they're getting the money from. Are you
Yeah.
ready? Because it's going
Yeah.
to make you sick. Okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
So I know last time I was on here, I talked a little bit about the secondaries market. Over the last 3 years, private equity firms and private credit firms started overstack. We know they've been overstacking debt onto the companies they acquired for a decade and a half,
Right.
right?
Bad
But
debt.
every time that they transfer one of those assets, the next private equity firm has to reevaluate it to include all that debt and overvalue its transfer, okay? And then they stack more debt on top of it. Well, what's happened is over the last 3 years, the Financial Times has started calling this a pyramid scheme where they started using something called the secondaries market. It means
Yeah.
that they tried to sell it on the open market or get it back to IPO. And because there was so much debt stacked on top of it, they could not secure a fair market valuation of the companies they were holding. And I'm not talking about small numbers here. I'm talking about 40,000 businesses that are stuck right now in the pipeline to sell, almost $4 trillion stuck. They can't move it. They can't get it out. And so what happened was private equity firms started calling up one another. You have ABC private equity and 123 private equity. They started saying, "Hey, I have like three businesses that are $1 billion each, and I cannot move these businesses, and I have to close out my fund, or my investors are going to sue me. I have to make these guys whole. These guys are my big money investors. These are my institutional
Right?
investors. These weren't the small mom and pops. I've got to make them whole. The other guy says, I've got three businesses at about a billion. Why don't we sell them to one another for 1.4 billion each? We'll open new funds to borrow the money. We'll sell them to each other, and we'll flip them on the secondaries market. Now that you would think was bad enough. That would sound terrifying, correct? It's so
Yes.
much worse. Okay, because that's been going on for 3 years. And starting about 6 months ago, they could not sell on the secondaries market either. They now have a 31 to 36,000 company backlog of sales they need to get out. And so they started something brand new that just came out, and the New York Times just covered it. And it is called a continuation fund. And what they did was each of these private equity firms created a new fund that is a new LLC that is not the same as their first fund, it's second fund. And we have this first fund that needs to close out all the businesses it invested in. So they open a second fund and they come to you and me and all the 401ks and they go, it's the deal of a lifetime. We have businesses that are going to see 50% increase returns for you. Don't worry. You guys just give us some money in this fund. We're going to acquire some businesses and we have a huge pipeline coming in. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's my turn. I get to make money
Hmm.
like the big guys. Don't believe it, because what's happening is pensions, 401ks are giving money to these secondaries funds, and the private equity firms are now selling the businesses they can't even move on the secondaries market to their new fund of smaller investors and using that money that they just gave to pay out the bigger investors in fund one.
That's right.
It is a Ponzi scheme. It is the most clear, cut, concise, directly correlated definition of a Ponzi scheme we have ever seen. Enron had nothing on this. And it's so
Wow.
blatant and they don't even care. And I've got to tell you, the best indicator we got that it was even happening was that the Saudi Royal Sovereign Wealth Fund started suing Platinum Equity for doing it. That's one of the companies I've been talking about a lot because they created a child to prison pipeline of horrible effects with their monopolies they created. But they are suing them because they said in creating their continuation fund, they started giving different numbers to different investors, and big investors were promised better returns than smaller investors, and bigger valuations were shown to bigger investors than smaller ones. And they feel it's a Ponzi scheme, and they're suing them, I think, in the state of New Jersey right now.
Unbelievable.
But I want to
Unbelievable.
stress that when Trump wrote that executive order giving everyone access to our 401ks, he also
One
gave the
second.
immunity.
Let me back you up. August of 2025, President Trump signed the executive order titled Democratizing Access to Alternative Assets for 401k Investors, directing the Department of Labor, Securities and Exchange Commissions, and Treasury to review and revise regulations to allow defined contribution retirement plans like 401ks to include alternative assets.
Do you want to
These
know what they
assets,
changed for him?
what
They
did they
made it so
do?
you can't sue your fund manager if he has a conflict of interest and invests your money badly. That's what they
Unbelievable.
changed. Because
Predators.
401ks weren't investing before because they were afraid they'd get sued. And he made it so you can't sue them. That's what he
Un
did.
Unbelievable. Listen to this. This order actually builds on there was a 2020 initiative during Trump's first term, which was rescinded under Biden, but it aimed to address perceived regulatory barriers and litigation risks to opening up to 401ks and pensions.
Yep.
They're predators, Tiffany.
I know.
They are predators. Um, there are so many people in the audience who have 401ks, IRAs. We only have a couple more minutes with you. Again, thank you for coming in, Tiffany. I know you had a rough night with the babies and they were sick, and I would have understood if you canceled, but I really wanted to hear from you. People need to understand how predatory both the left and the right, and at this point, you've got to figure out what's going on with your retirement, whether you have 401k, IRA. Can you give some advice to people? I'm thinking of many of my loved ones who have their entire life savings in a pension or a 401k. They probably don't know. I mean, I don't even think when I read the language of this bill or this executive order a few months ago, it was not even clear that the pension companies or the holders of the 401ks had to even notify
They don't.
their clients of their investment in these super, super risky private equity and private credit firms.
They don't.
Um, what would you advise the audience to do to get started?
So I'm going to give you guys just a few things I want to stress. Everybody, first of all, should immediately this moment, do not wait, do not forget. You should be emailing your 401k fund manager and revoking any implied permission to invest your funds in private equity or private or alternative assets or investments. You need to say not only that you are revoking any implied um, capability, but that you are explicitly stating that you would consider it a violation of their fiduciary duty to you if they
Perfect.
chose to invest your money in that way, and that you
Okay.
would seek to hold them legally responsible should they choose to invest your money in that regard. Now,
Okay.
pension holders, you have a much harder problem.
Yep.
I will say lots of pensions are pulling out of private equity because they're all about to get raked over the coals over these
Okay.
next couple of years as these bad exits are coming in. There
Yeah.
was one Oregon pension just this past month that figured out that over 10 years, they got 4.2% returns when they'd been promised a 60% return.
Oh my
And as a
God.
result, Oregon is having to not rehire or let go of 6,700 teachers to make up the shortfall. Okay, they would have gotten
Wow.
46% returns in the stock market with basic low risk funds.
Right. Right.
So you have
Okay.
to understand that it's never worth it. There is not a single small investor in the United States that would see better returns with private equity because their 2 and 20 payment model doesn't
Hmm.
actually generate returns unless you've invested at least $1.6 million. And that's on the low end. Really, it's closer to $4 million. So
Okay.
people should not think you're going to be the one that gets it right. You're not. They're not
Okay.
coming, they're not doing this to give you a key to the kingdom. They're
No,
doing this because for 15 years, they've made record profits literally systematically strip mining American excellence, ingenuity, and middle class wealth. They have
yeah.
destroyed the small business and middle class. They have destroyed our communities, and they have made record gains through the
Mhm.
literal exploitation and extermination of American excellence. That is what has
Unbelievable.
happened.
Right.
American made companies that were strong and successful were strip mined and destroyed. Our communities were destroyed. Factories were destroyed. Parking lots full of small businesses have been destroyed. They are not giving you the keys to the kingdom. They have made their money and now they are socializing the risk. This is not democratization, this is socialization. You are their safety net. They are
Mm.
socializing the risk to the plebeians, to the serfs that are under the guise that in 10 years we're going to get a windfall that will never come. And if Harvard and Yale have decided to get out, I don't think you are going to do any better.
That's
They are
right.
selling all of their private equity assets, and they can't sell them either, by the way. They're now losing $1.5 billion a year paying fees because they can't close their funds. Okay.
Unbelievable.
And I'm also going to stress this. As President Trump and all of the members of the right and the left begin to jockey for your vote this year, and we start filing into ranks and we say, we're going to vote blue no matter who, or vote red or else you're dead because some guy promised he was going to serve you well. I want you to remember that when Trump came out this week and he promised that he was going to remove large investors from single family homeownership, one day later, the SEC redefined what large investor meant. And now, $25 million in investment used to signify small investor. They're raising it to $1 billion in assets under management, from 25 million to $1 billion. He just made it so all of the private equity firms are still not large investors. So yes, he's going to
Unbelievable.
promise to get the large investors out for you, and it's going to do
What?
absolutely nothing. Nothing. And everyone else is going to make those same promises because they are both captured. I strongly encourage people to start recognizing that if you don't show up at primaries and vote out incumbents, nothing will change.
Mm,
Nothing. Doesn't matter what party they're in. You need to get rid of your incumbents.
right.
They have made themselves wealthy in that ivory tower in DC that was never meant to be an ivory tower. It was
That's
meant to
right.
be a public service institution. And instead, we have a house of billionaires and millionaires. And that
Well,
has
and
to
it's
change.
yeah, and it's only going to get worse. Tiffany Cianci, again, very, very valued expert guest on the Shannon Joy Show. You understand all the ways that they screw us, and we just touched a few of them. Tiffany, I'd like to have you again in about a month. I'd like to talk about solutions for people, right? Like where can they go? Where can they park their money? Where can they put their money? Where, what is safe these days? There's so many scams, so many scammers, so much out there that is predatory in nature. We really have to help regular Americans because I do believe if you had a critical mass, not a majority, but just enough, maybe even 10, 15% of Americans who are sound financially, who have made good decisions, who are firmly planted in their communities across the country that can hold things up while they try to collapse this economy around us. We're going to need people who are solvent enough to help their neighbors and to keep things going and to make sure that the American dream still exists, that there is still a future. You have little children. I have three children. I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 14-year-old. They need the American dream. They need liberty. They need to be able to invest in real estate or homes. Like we've got to fight for them, Tiffany. We got to figure out a way to not let this happen. And so if you're up for it, I'd like to have you in for a follow-up sooner rather than later if I could, so we can expand on this because your voice is so critical. I'm going to give you, a minute to close out and some, final thoughts. I'll let you go. We have Dr. Mary Telly Bowden ready to go, warming up in the bullpen in the Joy Virtual Studio. Her show, On Call with Dr. Mary Telly Bowden, starts in just 20 minutes. So we're going to collaborate with Dr. Mary in just a minute. But any final thoughts, Tiffany, before we go to break?
I'm going to stress that every single one of you need to start demanding real answers from the people that are asking for your vote. You need to ask very hard questions. Who do you serve? Whose money do you take? What are you going to vote for? Are you willing to go and stand up for the people in your community? But I want to stress this more. We are recognizing in real time that we cannot vote our way out of these problems with the
Yes.
existing people that we have access to vote for. It
Yes.
doesn't mean we can't vote our way out of it. It means we can't do it with the people we have at our disposal now. I'm also going to stress that there are 18 states in the United States that are referendum states, and I am calling for a referendum revolution. I am not exaggerating. We need to go to those 18 states and we will pass these laws ourselves. You can ban institutional investors from your state, all of them. You can force the divestment of every company that owns a home in your state. You can vote. You can force anybody that gets elected in your state to represent you at the state or federal level. If they're a citizen of your state and they're elected to office, they can't trade stocks anymore. We
Mm.
can do this without them in many, many places in the United States, and we can start to fix things.
I
We
love
can
that so much.
ban these actions. And so
I
we
love
need to
it.
start building alliances and working on those efforts.
I love it. Tiffany Cianci, how can people find you, support you, follow you, all the things?
You can find me at Tiffany Cianci on YouTube and TikTok, and you can find me at the Vino Mom on Instagram and X.
The Vino Mom. I follow you on X. I mean, a wealth of information. Make sure you're following and supporting the amazing Tiffany. Hey, girl, good luck with those kiddos. Go take care of them. Thank you so much for giving us some time today. We'll see you and hopefully in just a few weeks again on the Shannon Joy Show. We're going to get in deeper into those solutions that you just talked about.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you're the best. All right, guys. I told you, the best guests, the best, most brilliant, nonpartisan guests. We have Dr. Mary Telly Bowden coming up next, talk about medical freedom, among other things in the state of medical freedom. Also, her show lined up. She will be on Call with Dr. Mary Telly Bowden in just about 20 minutes. So quick commercial break. We're going to come right back, bring Dr. Mary in, and continue here on the Shannon Joy Show. I'm proud to be working with Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold in 2026. There is no one that I would trust more to send this audience to in terms of a metals strategy, whether it's your gold and silver physically that you purchase and keep in your home or in a safety deposit box, gold and silver in an IRA, which you can do through Schiff Gold, or even investing in gold mining stocks, which Peter Schiff and his team can also help you with. It is time to get that metals strategy in place. Right now, silver and gold are soaring. Silver is approaching $85 an ounce, while gold is up over $45 an ounce. And people don't see this stopping anytime soon. I know it seems expensive to you, but I don't know that there is a cap to this in the near future. So you can get started now. I want to encourage you guys right now to go to schiffgold.com/joy. That is schiffgold.com/joy. Everything that you need, Peter's analysis, market reports, research reports. You can get plugged into his investment services, physical gold and silver, which we're going to be talking about this month, and also protecting your retirement with a gold or silver IRA. It's all right there at your fingertips on my page, schiffgold.com/joy. Just want to tell you a little bit about my financial advisor. He's been with me for over 15 years, Don Polano of PCM and Associates. As you all know, my philosophy on investing is all of the above. So, I'm hugely bullish on gold and silver, physical gold and silver, and also the gold and silver IRA. I also love real estate, which I can't get into right now because it's too overpriced. So, that's kind of a bummer. But I also have money in the stock market, the good old traditional stock market. Now, right now, I am not in tech stocks at all whatsoever. I have very, very boring stocks and some international. And this is what I love about Dom Polano is that he knows, he respects my belief system. He shares my belief system. And for what I do have in the stock market, in those investments for my retirement, he takes great care of me. He helps people all over the country and the world. And he is taking on clients, opening it up to all of you. So if you go to 1-800, if you call 1-800-536-1368, that is 1-800-536-1368. You can talk to Dom and get started. If you are unsure of the politics of your financial advisor, or if you're a little jittery about the stock market right now and you want to move some things around, he is your guy. You can also go to pcmpolano.com to learn more about him. That is pcmpolano.com. It is wonderful to have a financial analyst and advisor who shares my values, and that's Dom Polano. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. I see you, Slim Jones, on the live chat. Shannon, update your commercial because gold and silver prices have doubled since the last time you read. I can't keep up with gold and silver prices right now. I see the Peter Schiff commercial. Yeah, gold and silver off the charts. We've never seen anything like it. Make sure you get your gold and silver. Go to shiftgold.com/joy. That is shiftgold.com/joy. Really easy way, simple, easy, quick to buy gold and silver bullion, or also you can learn about the IRA, the 401k, all the things. But it's interesting that we can't keep up with it. Without further ado, I would like to welcome into the Joy Virtual Studio the Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Of course, it is Wednesday, the epicenter of a very busy broadcast week, which means it's the day that we run on call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Girl, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Shannon?
I'm doing great, hanging in there. Like a fire hose in my face every single day here on the Shannon Joy Show. Can't keep up. These news cycles accelerate in such a fashion that it's really difficult to kind of grasp what's going on. But there are a lot of areas that this audience is, concerned about. One is obviously medical freedom or lack thereof, action or lack thereof in Washington, D.C. in terms of medical freedom and regarding the COVID shot. You have a big show lined up for us today. Who are you going to talk to?
First, I'm talking to Brian Festa. I think everybody seems pretty relaxed about the COVID shots these days. Eliminating mandates seems to be enough for everybody. But in truth, I mean, it's very critical what happens in the legal world in the coming year.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, we are not protected from vaccine mandates going forward. So if we have another pandemic, they can still screw us again. They can still try to force everybody to get a shot. And Brian Festa is one of the few lawyers out there who is fighting hard. He's got a couple cases being considered possibly by the Supreme Court that are crucial, and we're going to talk to him about those.
Okay. And then Dr. Drew a little later.
Yeah, and then Dr. Drew brings us some important perspectives on marijuana, mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these health trends flying around concerning psychovillains and mushrooms and LSD and microdosing, and we're going to dig into all of that.
They're all into it. The Maha crowd, Cali Means apparently met Bobby Kennedy Jr. In a sweat tent in Austin, Texas, and he was high on psychedelics or mushrooms or something. It's unclear whether or not Bobby Kennedy Jr. had partaken in the mushrooms or the psychedelics. Supposedly he's sober. But it's this whole weird thing around Maha using LSD type of, cures. It's just really strange. I'm not into any of it. I think it's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be say no to drugs, and that was a strong stance, and it made
Right.
sense. And people, I believe people should have the freedom to do what they want, but the government doesn't need to condone it. Having a strong stance against drugs seems like a logical thing to do, but in recent times, that stance has definitely relaxed.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I mean, people are desperate for cures. Everyone is so sick because of the COVID shots, and we see, the turbo cancers, the rates of cancers. In fact, interestingly enough, this is tragic. In this terrible, terrible economic news that dropped today, we have inflation numbers, we have production price index, and also labor numbers as well. And it's just bad, 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 bad across the board. The only bright spot, tragically, in the American economy is in healthcare. And they label it a bright spot. But how devastating is that? The business model of poisoning millions of Americans, continuing to poison them, and then profiting off of the cures that you sell to them in order to cure the poison. It's the most grotesque and dystopian business model that uses the human body. And I used to talk a lot about this during COVID and the lockdowns and the rollout of the shots, that they have commoditized humans, right? Our bodies are critical to their business models and the 21st century business model of, corral the humans, control their eating, shoot them up with poisons, make them sick, then cure them from the poison, and then they die, and then we harvest their organs and start over again. Like it's a really disgusting model that no one talks about.
Yeah, and sadly, people are still getting these COVID shots.
I
I'm
know.
still seeing patients in my office whose their primary care doctors coerced them, pressured them into getting the shots, and they're still getting injured. Children are still getting these shots. I looked at the CDC's website this morning, and it looks, about 5.5 million children have already received it. Another 5 million children are definitely going to get it. Another 20 million children are probably going to get it. They're heavily considering it. It's just completely insane. And yeah, they're probably all Democrats, but they're still children. And it's, it's really sad. And we only have 2 members of Congress who are willing to even state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. I know Rand Paul was just on Joe Rogan, and he has been an ally more or less with COVID, but he still will not call for the COVID shots to be pulled off the market. And if you watch that interview, there were some subtle signs that he's a supporter of it for the elderly, which I have heard him say on camera. He didn't quite come out and say that on Joe Rogan, but yeah, he has not made up his mind. He called for more research, and that is hugely disappointing. I mean, there are 20 physicians in Congress, and not a single one of them is willing to speak up and say the right thing, because no child should be getting these shots. I mean, it's just completely unbelievable.
From what I saw of the Rand Paul interview with Joe Rogan, it looked to me like a limited hangout. And Rand Paul has done that on COVID and COVID related issues relentlessly since 2020. He has been a thorn in my side from the very beginning, because he comes out and he adopts and accepts a narrow part of the truth so as to deceive his audience or people into believing that he's on their side. But he ends up directing them towards a falsehood. And it was really, I mean, he's been so narrow. It's all gain of function. It's all the lab in Wuhan. It's all this kind of hyped up fake, critique of the Chinese. He doesn't acknowledge any of, he doesn't, the military deployment of COVID countermeasures, the military's involvement and the creation of the COVID vaccine. I mean, there were labs in North Carolina There are labs all over the United States of America where they're doing gain of function research, but he doesn't have anything to say about that. He just talks about Wuhan. And, he also adopts what I think is a disturb, the idea that they continue to perpetuate that there are these super scary viruses that are super tiny and they can pass, we can weaponize them and kill millions of people, and you can pass it from one person to another, and you're a threat to your neighbor and your neighbor's a threat to you, and you've got to wear the mask. Like, everything that Rand Paul is doing is adopting and accepting all of the narratives that were used to lock us down, mask us up, and inject a large population of people from the beginning. So he's upholding all of that while blaming Pam Bondi. That's really, I think, the point of it. Oh, it's a big blame game. The real people, we really want to prosecute Fauci. All right. That's the other thing he does. That's another trick. He dangles the little carrot out there that support me, send me money, reelect me again, and maybe someday we'll prosecute Fauci, when Fauci wasn't the villain. It was all the people behind Fauci. It was the entirety of the DOD apparatus and the president of the United States who hired Fauci, put him in the position that he was in, and then handed his administration over to him for the better part of the last year of his presidency. Oh, and then mailed ballots to everyone so that he could lose the presidency on purpose. Like, it's just insane to me. Insane to me. Sorry, I don't mean to rant about Rand Paul. He has just irritated me for the past 5 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's soft. He's focusing on Fauci. And if you watch that interview carefully, you'll see what I'm saying. And what you're saying is that he's careful about what he says. And
oh, yeah.
I didn't get the sense that he was in favor of ivermectin either from that interview. I'm not sure what his stance is, but that was my sense, that he's not.
What a disappointment he is. Well, Ron Paul is such a rock star. Rand is such a disappointment to me. Sorry, Rand.
People don't realize, I just found this out. There is a bat virus research lab being planned in Colorado, and our federal funds are going towards that. And the NIH is funding that. A bat virus research lab in Colorado.
Thanks, Jay Bhattacharya. Can't lift a finger for the COVID vaccine injured. Can't allocate 1 penny, not 1 penny, from Dr. Jay Bhattacharya over at NIH to help a single COVID vaccine victim or injured. They won't even talk about him. But he can direct millions upon millions, hundreds of millions, to new bat research or whatever in the interior of the United States. Insane. And yet, Mod Trend, I see you on the live chat. Fauci wasn't a villain. Yes, Fauci was a villain in his own way, but he's a very narrow, non-essential villain, right? They could have replaced Fauci with anyone. It could have been anyone in that role, going out and telling people to lock down and mask up and do this and do that. The real villain, the calls are coming from inside the house. It's our own government, Department of Defense, military apparatus, the intelligence. This is just my opinion. Mary, I'm not, you probably have your own opinions on this, but Fauci is such a limited hangout, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, at least we have a new food pyramid, though. That's going to save us all.
I like the food. I do like the food pyramid.
Well, I do too. You would think that they just cured cancer based on all the PR going out about the food pyramid. And, everybody should know they update the food pyramid every 5 years. This is not, yes, it's different from prior food pyramids, but it's done every 5 years. It's not like this is the first time it's ever happened.
Oh, they're going to give themselves, a ticker tape parade. They're going to, but again, we predicted this how many months ago, within the first month or two of the administration, Maha, you could see the messaging from the very beginning. It was going to be all about food. It was going to be all about the things, that make you sick and could kill you, but not the one thing, the most important thing, the massive elephant in the room that is the injection of hundreds of millions of Americans with what is now known to be a poison shot. That is the elephant in the room. And I'm done with RFK. I'm done with all of them. I have, to me, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is equivalent to an Anthony Fauci. I don't, I think that the commission of truth is one thing, but the omission of truth is also the same type of deception. And with Bobby Kennedy Jr., the omission of truth right now from his administration is deceiving so many people and resulting in the loss of our opportunity to actually get a reckoning for what was done to these people and get help for the vaccine injured. So I'm meaner than everyone else. Everyone else wants to give them a little more time. I know I'm the bad guy, but that's just where I am. Hey, we got about a minute before you need to go and take your next guest. Anything else you want to tell the audience?
Well, I mean, it's just children are getting these shots. It's Russian roulette for a cold. I mean, COVID, I never worry about my COVID patients anymore. There is absolutely no reason for any child to take this risk to get these shots. And Kennedy knows. And based on what Robert Malone tweeted, it sounds like Makary is the problem, but ultimately doesn't the buck stop with Kennedy and obviously Trump? And it's very frustrating. I've never seen anything like it with any other product on the market. I know I keep saying that, but it's just truly unbelievable that this thing is still on the market.
Yeah. Well, that's how it's the big elephant. I mean, it's what we're not allowed to talk about. And the things that we're not allowed to talk about are the things that we should be talking about, which is why your program is so important, why you're so important. And please support Dr. Mary Bowden in all ways. All right, so we're going to close up my show. I'm going to exit my show. You're going to get ready for your show. And you guys are all going to keep it tuned right here. On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden starts in just a moment right here on the SJ Network. Also, Mary's platforms on Substack and here on Rumble and on Twitter as well. You can watch On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. We're going to get that started today. She has some great guests, Brian Festa and Dr. Drew a little later. So keep it tuned right here. And we are now going to close out the SJ show and start up On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. We'll see you tomorrow here on the show. By the way, Peter Schiff will be with us for a full hour tomorrow on the SJ show. Do not miss that live show, and we'll bring that to you here. Thanks everyone for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again.